Hello class, how are you today? I hope this video finds you well. Today we will review our material about poem and poetry. Okay, let's get started. What is poem? Poem is a place of writing in which the expression of feelings and ideas is given intensity by particular attention to diction, with involving rhyme, rhythm, and imagery. Jadi poem itu adalah salah satu sarana buat kita menuangkan kreativitas dalam bentuk tulisan terutama. Menuangkan perasaan, ekspresi, dan ide-ide ke dalam bentuk tulisan. Poem is written by a poet. Penulis poem biasa disebut poet. The next we have the purpose of poem. The first one is to convey emotion or ideas, raising love, lamenting heartbreak, to give pleasure, and last is to entertain. The next we have the characteristics of poem. The paragraph in a poem is called a stanza or a verse. The second one using figurative language. Third one is imaginative. And the last one is often has rhythm and rhyme. And here are the examples of poem. You can read it by yourself. You can pause this video if you don't have enough time to read it. The next one we have figurative language. Figurative language refers to a language that deviates from the conventional order and meaning in order to convey a complicated meaning, colorful writing, clarity, or evocative comparison. Jadi, tata bahasa dalam poem itu menggunakan figurative language yang mana bahasanya itu seperti mengimajinasikan sesuatu agar perasaan sang penulis bisa dirasakan oleh pembaca. Okay, next is the types of figurative language. Jadi figurative language ini ada beberapa jenis, tapi kita akan pelajari yang sering dipakai dalam poem saja. Yang pertama, we have metaphor. Metaphor is a statement that compares two things that are not alike. Unlike similes, metaphor do not use the words like or as. Jadi metafor itu membandingkan sesuatu yang sebenarnya tidak satu arti. Contohnya, time is money. Love is a battlefield. Kemudian selanjutnya ada personification. Personification is a type of figurative language that gives human characteristics to non-living objects. Contohnya, the radio stared at me. Radionya menatapku, seolah-olah radio bisa melihat. Jadi ciri-ciri personifikasi menjadikan sesuatu seperti manusia. Next, we have simile. A simile is a figure of speech that compares two unlike things and use the words like or as, and they are commonly used in everyday communication. Simile atau similar ini ya adalah figurative language yang sering dipakai pada poem. Contohnya, the boy was as brave as a lion in the jungle. Lelaki itu berani seperti singa yang di hutan. She runs like a cheetah. Ada like di sini, yaitu simile. Hampir sama seperti metafor tadi, cuma di sini ada like atau as sebagai pembanding. Selanjutnya ada hyperbole. Hyperbole. Hyperbole is an exaggeration that is created to emphasize a point or bring out a sense of humor. For example, I have told you a million times to watch the thesis.
Next one is elements of poetry. Rhythm. Rhythm in poetry involves sound patterning. Rhythm is created by the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in a line or verse. Rhythm shows the long and short of sounds or movement. This involves the combining of stressed and unstressed syllables to create a constant beat pattern that runs throughout the poem. Its pattern of beats is called a foot. Jadi rhythm ini jika kita terjemahkan dalam bahasa Indonesia adalah rima. Bisa dibilang seperti itu. The next one is sound. Sound devices are special tools the poet can use to create certain effects in the poem to convey and reinforce meaning through sound. Poets often use the sounds of words to create effect in their poems. The next one is elements of poetry. Imagery. Imagery means to use figurative language to represent objects, actions, and ideas in such a way that it appeals to our physical senses. Usually, it is true throughout that imagery makes use of particular words that create visual representation of ideas in our minds. The word imagery is associated with mental pictures. Examples of imagery in poetry. It was dark and dim in the forest. The words dark and dim are visual images. Jadi di contoh yang pertama, it was dark and dim in the forest. Itu kata dark and dim itu adalah visualisasi gambar seperti misalnya seperti contohnya di sini dalam hutan itu gelap dan dingin. Jadi gelap dan dingin itu menggambarkan visualisasi kita sebagai pembaca bahwa dalam puisi ini kata dari dark and dim itu kita imajinasikan dan kita visualkan sebagai gambar. Dan di contoh yang kedua, the children were screaming and shouting in the fields. Screaming and shouting appeal to our sense of hearing or auditory sense. Jadi sama seperti contoh yang pertama, screaming and shouting itu juga merupakan visualisasi kita terhadap apa yang kita baca. Dan di contoh yang ketiga, he whiffs the aroma of brewed coffee. Whiff and aroma evoke our sense of smell or olfactory sense. Jadi whiff and aroma itu juga sama memberi kita imajinasi bahwa kita sedang menghirup aroma dari kopi. Elements of poetry. Forms. Form in poetry can be understood as the physical structure of the poem, the length of the lines, their rhythm, their system of rhythm and repetition. In the sense, it is normally reserved for the type of poem where these features have been shaped into a pattern, especially a familiar pattern. In poem, we also learn about a stanza. A stanza is a spirited verse in a poem. It's like a paragraph within the poem, and just like paragraphs, stanzas are used by poets for a specific impact. Jadi stanza ini sebenarnya cara mudahnya kita memahami adalah paragraf di dalam puisi. One is types of stanza. Stanza itu juga memiliki beberapa tipe. Couplet consists of two lines. Jadi di couplet ini ada dua lines dalam satu puisi atau satu bait puisi. Triplet consists of three lines. Di triplet ini memiliki 3 baris. Quatrain consists of 4 lines, 4 baris. Quintet consists of 5 lines, 5 baris. Sector consists of 6 lines, 6 baris. Octave consists of 8 lines, 8 baris. The next one is kinds of poetry. Lyric poetry. Lyric poetry is the most common type of poetry. Nowadays, lyrical poetry means any short poem. Jadi, lyric poetry ini adalah jenis puisi yang paling umum yang biasa digunakan. Dan biasanya puisi-puisi pendek itu juga termasuk dalam lyric poetry. The next one is narrative poetry. Narrative poetry is poetry that tells a story. There are two types of narrative poems, ballads and epics. Epics are long poems that describing heroes in battles. Ballads tell shorter story about a particular person. Jadi dalam narrative poetry itu biasanya menceritakan sebuah kisah atau sebuah cerita. Di narrative poetry ada 2 tipe, ada ballads dan epic. Dalam epic atau dalam narrative poetry yang epic itu biasanya memiliki puisi yang panjang dan berkisah tentang heroes in battles atau berkisah tentang kisah kepahlawanan atau mungkin kisah dewa dan semacamnya. Lalu yang kedua adalah ballads. Biasanya lebih pendek puisinya dan menceritakan tentang seseorang seperti itu. Yang terakhir adalah dramatic poetry. Dramatic poetry tells story just like narrative poetry, but in dramatic poetry, lets one or more of the characters act out the story. Jadi intinya dramatic poetry itu hampir sama, juga bercerita tentang sesuatu. Tapi di dramatic poetry biasanya memunculkan karakter yang memiliki lebih dari satu karakter dan biasanya mereka memiliki aksi tertentu atau menceritakan kedua karakter itu dengan lebih rinci seperti itu.